And now, here's your host of Shaping Success, Wes Tankersley.
What is up, everyone? Welcome to Shaping Success. Before we get started, let's thank our Patreon supporters, Nikki Pavlovich, Anna Mellon, and Wendell Fernandez. Thank you guys for supporting the show. You can support the show in lots of ways. You can subscribe, you can follow, you can comment on posts that hop in, hop out. And thanks for being here for this live pretty early in the morning. Robert Watson, my co-host, sitting next to me. Hello, Robert. How's it going?
Good morning. Happy Monday.
Yes, it is Monday indeed.
So what is this magical quote that you want to share?
Oh, it was funny. I was listening to it. I feel like these are the kind of the things that you and I kind of talk about back and forth a lot, and you post quotes all the time. And my friend on here, he goes by the name of Petty Picasso, and he's kind of funny because he's got, like, you can go check the post. I tagged him in the last one that I made because I just used the sound because I thought it was great. But he said, it's always people with no life trying to tell you how to live yours. And I just think that's an amazing thing because we sit back, and that is a big barrier for a lot of people, that other people are telling you what you should and shouldn't do when you know what you want to do and how you want to do it. And they can really stop you from doing that, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's the other quote, which I love, is the one that says, don't take advice from people you don't admire.
Yeah, very similar.
Right? It's like, why are you listening to them? Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, when you look at what other people are doing and you're doing something and you kind of try to look at, like, if they start to tell you that you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that, you should really take a step back and look at what they've done with their life. Because a lot of times what they've done with their life is nothing. They spent their time on the sidelines afraid to get into the game. And I always go back in my mind that you can't get into game sitting on the bench. So what are you going to do to get in that game?
Yeah, and one of the weirdest things is I had this kind of because I've been in this academic mode for a couple of years now, and I realized it's pulled me away from the person that I used to be, which is, I was always flying, jumping out of planes, diving, doing things that risk my life because that's how I felt alive.
Right.
And I realized that I needed to do it, so I sat there and, believe it or not, rewatched Top Gun and Top Gun Maverick.
Yep.
Because when the first Top Gun was done, I was actually in uniform, and I had just started flying, jumping, and doing all those things, right? And I had to remind myself, and it was kind of like Tom Cruise and I aged together, right? He's now, in the movie, and in real life, he became a pilot, right? And
Yep.
it's been the last 40 years flying. But it is the reminder that, there are things that you do that define you, right? And as people get wrapped up in whatever our job is, whatever taking care of our family is, and then we forget to be who we are.
Right.
Right. And then we let other people give us input into who we are. I'm like, I don't really need your input.
Yeah.
I need to just be me and just continue to pull into the things that I know that make me happy, the things that make me feel like I'm alive. And you can really get into a grind. And that's the same thing. You get into this grind or set of expectations that other people put on you. It becomes very, very difficult to get out of it. And then you wonder why you're not necessarily unhappy, but you're not happy.
Yeah.
Right? You're just not juiced.
Yeah. I mean, I sit there and I think about that in my own life right now. It's like I feel like I'm at that point where I'm just like grind, having a hard time keeping up with the things that I want to do. My wife and I, we went shopping yesterday, and yearly, she brings me, or every year she buys me, and I don't go through them very often, but she buys me a box of Titleist Pro V1 X's, which are a pretty expensive box of golf balls. They're like $54. It used to be like 30, and 30 was a lot, and now 50 is a lot. And the cool thing about it is I don't go through three. I usually I take a sleeve, so there's 3 balls in a sleeve, and I don't run through them in one round of 18. And if I do, then I just reach into my bag and I get the crappy balls out. But I have a stack of golf balls out there, and my wife goes, I mean, you can buy these. I got a lot of extra ones because I haven't been able to go, and I haven't gone because I just haven't had the time, because I've forgotten, I feel like, about being able to have fun because I'm so busy trying to make something happen, and it's crazy how you can get lost in that.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden you look and you don't know who you are.
Right.
Right. And it's not that you're unhappy. It's not that you're complaining. And I looked around and I was so grateful for all the things that I have.
Hmm.
But then I was sitting there going, why do I not feel energized? Why do I feel like I'm just going through the motions? Why do I feel like I'm just showing up? And the
Yeah.
reason was I wasn't doing the things that make me happy ultimately.
Hmm.
And I said, you know what? Okay, I got to bring those back into my life and remind myself of who I am. And watching Maverick did that for me, right? Was
Yeah.
reminded me that I like living that way. I
Yeah.
like risking my life. I mean, granted, I'm pretty good at what I do, but still, the risk is there. You know, the attention and the immersion, right? When you're doing things that um, are life or death, you're very focused, you're very immersed, you're very intense. And I realized that, academia is just not that way. I mean, I enjoy it, but it's
Yeah.
not. It doesn't pull me in the right directions.
Yeah, and I think that it's kind of a vehicle to get you where you need to go, right? Because there are all these things that you do enjoy, but you have to unfortunately go and do. Like I feel like I don't know, it was tough. So like I went to college, right, to get this degree to teach, but I don't actually use it. But it was necessary to get me where I am today. And it was funny. I was watching Deadpool and Wolverine, and they're like, Wolverine's like, well, I want to go back. I want to go. Like, can you take me back to my world? Because if you guys haven't watched it, spoiler alert here. They're saving the world. And so for his world got destroyed. They take him from another world. And they said at the end of the movie, he's like, he needs to go back. And they said, well, if he goes back, everything that brought him here to who he is today wouldn't have happened. So this has made you who you are today. You really have to think
Yeah,
about all those things that define who you are today.
right. And I don't want to. I don't want to talk about that because somebody was reading my book and they made some comments out of the book and they said, "Listen, I thought it was really, really good. Your experiences are amazing." And he was reminding me of the book and then it reminded me, "Oh my gosh, I am that person, but I'm not that person anymore in the
Yeah.
sense that I don't engage in those same things, but that is who I am."
Hmm.
And getting back in touch with that is really, really important to me. Yes, I know that aging and other responsibilities pull you away, but you've got to still indulge those. You've got to dip your toe in them.
Yeah, and the thing is that if you stop doing those things, if that's when we've talked about this before. It's like that's when you die, right? Not die, but like you start to go towards the other end because we are from the moment we are born, we start dying. That's all there is to it. Like we just
Mhm.
start getting older, and I know that sounds kind of morbid, but think about that. We get older, we're reaching towards the mountaintop. I was thinking about it yesterday as I'm driving around, and my wife and I are sitting there talking about. We're talking. We got the kids screaming in the back of the car. It's driving us insane. We're turning around, shut up, be quiet. You guys are too loud, this, that, blah, blah, blah. Our eardrums are hurting. And I thought about it. I'm going to be 44 in a couple weeks here. And I'm on the back end, right? Like most people don't live to be, past 80. And we're on the back end. So we are to that point where we've hit that peak and you're going over and over again. And if you stop doing the things that you enjoy doing, where's that going to leave you? What are you going to do? Do you want to regret not doing the things that you wanted to do because you were too busy to do them, you know?
Right. And when you get to my age, which is the back half of the back half, right? You're starting to say to yourself, okay, um, what do I want to do with the next 5 years?
Yeah.
And you say, well, I don't want to do that. Well, sometimes you have to do what you don't want. No, not at this stage in my life. No, I'm going to do what I want to do. Why?
Yeah.
Because I don't really know. Come on, there's no guarantees.
Yep.
There really isn't. So you really do need to make sure that we wire into the things that are going to make us happy. And granted, everything has to be, how would you say, in moderation. You can't live for today to forsake all of tomorrow, but you can't forsake today for tomorrow and hoping it. You can't live in this sense of, well, when I get to this point,
Yep.
I will take time for myself. You can't do that. You
Yeah. You
literally
have.
have to take some time for yourself.
Yeah, and I think I guess what I would ask you because you're a few years older is what advice would you give to someone who is like got their time so tight, or feels like, I mean, because I got a feeling there's, like I always say this, there's more time to find time. But like if you've got so much tied up in your life, like you feel like you can't do any more. How do you figure that out? How do you? Because I'm sitting here thinking like to myself, I've got every single hour accounted for, and granted there is a couple hours of sitting around, but finding that time, like what's your advice to someone who's trying to find the time?
You will know this sense that all time does not go by the same way. Meaning, when you're waiting for something to happen, think how slow the clock feels. When you're engaged in the things you really love, right? Time flies.
Yeah.
So 1 minute is not 1 minute. Okay. It is in the clock, but it's not in the way we experience it. And I believe that you got to find the things that slow time down for you a little bit. And times when you like simple things like maybe it's taking a walk with your wife. Okay. Maybe it's taking a 15-minute walk with your wife to connect, right? Where you simply hold hands and talk and let the world slow down. And with 2 kids, that's pretty hard to get that time, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Right. But these are the things that you have to do to slow. And, maybe for you, maybe hitting golf wiffle balls, right, in your backyard, right?
Yeah.
15 minutes of hitting wiffle balls would make you feel incredible, right? Just give you a chance to focus on something else to clear your head. And these are the kind of things that we need to sit and kind of breathe in and be grateful and just sit there and go, okay, yeah, that's nice. Because you know how it feels when you hit a ball just right, whether it's baseball, whether it's golf. You know that feel, right? It's like magic.
Yeah.
And so, that swing you get when you get a chance to, even though it's a wiffle ball, and that swing's perfect, that's the thing you want to get a chance to enjoy.
Yeah, it's funny. I'm looking over here trying to find my home run baseball that I hit when I was in high school because I didn't even know I hit it. You hit it so good, you don't even know you hit it. I'm rounding second base, and the guy who was on first told me to slow down. I hit it out. And I'm like, oh, okay. I'm chugging around that base trying to be the train, trying to get there as fast as I can, hustling, And I wasn't very fast, but it was cool to see him. And I'll never forget, like, turning around going, dude, you hit it out. Slow down.
Yeah. Well, but I mean, you know the rule, right? I mean, you hit the ball, you connect, and you haul butt. Get rid of the bat, haul butt.
Yep, exactly.
There was this one play. It was option right. I had a fake to the fullback, and I had the tailback to my side as an option right. And we were on the 20. It was 1st and 10. And as I come around the corner, right, I looked at the running back and I fake pitched to him, right? Well, the corner bit, and that was it, right? All of a sudden, magically, the wide receiver steps in and screens the linebacker, right? The tight end spit out and made sure the corner wasn't going anywhere, right?
Yep.
And that was perfect. I went right through the gap in 80 yards to a touchdown. I wasn't touched. No one laid a hand on me.
Yeah.
I mean, you know how magical that feels, right?
Yeah.
You can just experience it, right? Time after time.
Yeah, there's those moments that I think that people, and that's a great reminder to sit back and think about those moments when you have felt your best. And Nikki said, I need to write more inspiration. I get inspiration at the wrong time. It's like, is there ever a wrong time? Is there ever a wrong time? You get that inspiration. Maybe you need to carry that notebook around with you and just jot that down. Or even one of the things that I've done is like I'm sitting there listening to a book on Audible as I'm driving around, and I'll pause that book. I'll grab my phone, hit the notes app, and do a voice app or a voice note, and it'll write it down for me. And then I can go back to it and talk about it. Like when I was that's where I got a lot of my inspiration from when I was doing solo shows by myself, was the fact that, and even this, like, I'm sitting here listening to a TikTok post this morning and I hear this and it's like, man, take the time to stop. That's the thing. And Nikki says I do usually when I'm exercising. The exercise will be there. I get it. Like, I understand you're out there exercising, but like if you got to stop 2 seconds just to hit that button and you can do that voice, transcribes it for you. So you have the opportunity to be able to come back to that. And then when you're done, what do? Now you go home and you start really digging into it.
Yeah, and keeping notes, because you never know when the inspiration, but getting into that space, right, where life is very inspiring, where things are kind of hitting you. That's the kind of space you need to be in at least a couple times a day. And come on, that's not going to be for hours. That's not the way it works.
Right.
You might get 10 minutes of really, really special time. I literally do not turn my radio on in the car for a reason, right? Every time I drive, especially to school and back, right? It's a 35, 40-minute drive.
Yep.
I'm quiet. Why? Because I want to listen to myself, my own internal clock. I want to hear the things that are going on because I get inspired. Sometimes, it's funny because you're driving. It's not actually very natural to write things. But like you said, you can punch your phone
Yep.
and make a little note. And that's that space we all need to be in. And that's that space that I think you'll be the happiest. And rehearsing those incredible victories. One of the things I used to love about flying, right, is it's so immersive that when you take off and you're doing your thing, there is no time or energy. You don't worry. You don't think about anything.
Right.
Same thing in martial arts, right? You don't think about anything. You immerse in what you do. And I realized those immersive things that I had in my life, the life or death, high performance, those are breaks that my body and my mind need to kind of cleanse.
Right.
Right. Just to cleanse it all out. Like you, go hit a dozen wiffle balls in the backyard.
I'm already getting ready to put that in the damn Amazon cart. Like that's such a great idea. That's so easy to see because even that, it's like you're out there in the backyard. Like I'm thinking, I'm sitting there looking, could I do this? How could I do this? And that's a great idea. I mean, like my kids could even get involved in that. Even if they can't swing a golf club right now, they can go chase them down and bring them back to me. Like it's something that can involve them that they will love to do. And, it's just a good workaround. And I feel like we sometimes get lost. We're not able to do that. So jog someone's memory. I mean, this conversation for me is just great because it is not only just helping other people, it's helping me too, Yeah.
And that's, again, a lot of times people will say things to me and they don't realize the impact they're having.
Yeah.
And they'll say, have you thought about that? And I go, no, I haven't thought about that in a long time. You're right. That's exactly the way I need to think of that.
Yeah.
And it is the constant way we can reference things and put them into perspective that makes all the difference in the world. Because again, we need these what we call pattern interrupts.
Mm-hmm.
I have this pattern that I've got to go indulge in all day long. I wake up, I do this. We need pattern interrupts to be able to stop ourselves and, breathe.
Yeah.
Right? Just reflect.
It can get overwhelming. I mean, it definitely can. Like, I mean, there's things like last night I was having a conversation. I had got an email that just drove me insane, and I'm just sitting there like going off. Like, I did not like the way I felt about it. I did not like the way I was reacting to it, but I allowed it to. My wife was just sitting there. She's like, just calm down. Just calm down. And luckily, I was able to turn it off because I get so wound up about some things that I just can't turn that off. And then, like I can't sleep. I can't get through the night. And I have to remind myself that nothing's going to get fixed right now. Like I have to fix that myself, and it's not going to get fixed right now. And if I can just take a deep breath and take in the world around me and figure out what's going on, it's going to be better off. But sometimes it's hard to do.
Yeah. And listen, we all have triggers. These are the things that trigger what I call dysfunctional behavior. Mm-hmm. Behavior where we're not operating at our best. We all have them, whatever they may be. We need to learn what they are, and then we need to learn the pattern interrupt when they start.
Yep.
Okay. Like I've got this pattern. Like a friend of mine, was in the middle of a video call with my girl, and my other friend contacted me, and I hadn't responded back, and so she said, "Are you mad at me?" I'm like, "No, sorry, I'm in the middle of another conversation," and she said, "Wow, that was my attachment style that got in the way. You didn't say anything, but the fact that you took some time, you triggered me." Mm-hmm. Right? And you think, God, how strange. But again, look how self-aware she was.
Yeah.
She was like, "Oh, I got triggered by you by accident. You didn't do anything. You were actually just focused on something else."
Yeah.
We need to realize our triggers and then find our workarounds, like you said, our workarounds, so that we can deal with that.
Yep. Nikki has a question for you. She says, "Are you going back to flying? How are you going to satisfy that need?"
Well, basically, yes, I'm going back to flying. As soon as I can get out of this program and go on to my PhD, I'm going to start flying again because I'll have more revenue. Flying's expensive. And the other is I'm going to start jumping again, back into skydiving. And I know that those things will give me a little martial arts again. Those things will give me back the juice that I'm searching for.
Yeah, it's crazy. That skydiving is one of those things that, for those of you who do not know me very well, you will know that I am a big Superman fan. And I feel like one day I'm going to have to skydive because I think that that is the closest thing that you can get to flying, right?
Yeah, I mean, the weird part is flying is quiet compared to skydiving.
Mm-hmm.
Skydiving is loud. And people are like, "What do you mean it's loud?" Well, you're going through the air pretty damn fast.
Yeah.
And so it gets this weird loudness to it. Whereas flying is really, really quiet.
Mm-hmm.
It's not quiet when you're clearing of airspace and talking to control and all that kind of stuff. But when you're actually flying what we call straight and level, you're on course, it's really peaceful.
Yeah.
Amazingly peaceful. And you know what you're doing is you literally are a bird.
Mm-hmm.
It is so cool.
Well, all the sound is like encased inside the, the fuselage or whatever, so you kind of stop that. I can just imagine how loud it is skydiving because that sound that's outside is just blowing as you're going down. Just think about being in a wind tunnel or being out in a windy day because it's a lot. That's like 10 times that.
Yes. Yeah, and again, but the coolest part, the best part of it is so you do the dive part when you pull your chute. Once you clear your chute and you're open, now it gets quiet.
Oh yeah.
Really, really quiet. And all of a sudden now you're like, okay, this is cool. Right? And because you don't have but a little bit to set up to do for your landing, right? You know which way the wind's blowing, you know where you're going. You need to get downwind, yourself into a position where you're basically coming into the wind to land. That's all you have to do. Once you know which direction you're going, you're like, okay, this is 3 or 4 minutes of chill. Just absolute chill. Very cool.
Yep. Well, I love it. It's been a great conversation. I thank you for the idea about hitting the golf balls because I think that's a great thing. If you guys are just joining us, we're getting ready to roll out here. But the topic was it's always the people with no life trying to tell you how to live yours. Go check out Petty Picasso. You can go click on the last video that I posted. I used his sound, and he says a lot of stuff. He's kind of funny with what he says, but a lot of it's just about like trying to kill the noise that is coming around you, and that you don't have to listen to other people, and you don't have to involve yourself in those situations. And I don't know. It's one of those things, Robert, where I found Robert was kind of the same thing, like these quotes that pop up, and just I encourage you to go listen to those things and just give yourself something to reflect on a daily basis. And it's as easy as just taking the notes on your phone. If you've got an iPhone, I know you just hit that notes app, and I'll be listening to a book and I'll hear something and then I will write it down on the voice app while I'm driving. You can do it. So, and then reflect on it. So
absolutely.
Yep. So thanks, everyone. Thank you to Michelle, Nikki, Dianis for subscribing here on TikTok, and Nikki and Wendell Fernandez over on Patreon. Go check out the podcast. Please leave a 5-star review over on Apple. If you have some some topics that you would like us to cover, you can email me, wes@westankersley.com, and we'll take a look at that. This is kind of just us discussing life and how we get through it on a daily basis. And we do have one more chapter in Robert's book, if you haven't picked it up yet, Ars Victorious. We'll get to that sooner or later, I'm assuming. We just kind of get off on these topics sometimes, and that's what we're here for. So thanks for hanging out with us.
Absolutely. Great to see you, Nikki. Thanks.
Yep. You guys have a great day. Thank you to everyone who has followed this morning. If you want to catch us, 7 o'clock.